What is up, y'all? This is episode 29 of Two Jersey Kids. This is our video game podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam Buckingham, alongside the best stick handler in the business, Gary Seisel. How you doing today, Gary?
What's happening, y'all? I'm doing pretty good. We survived the blizzard up here in New Jersey, even though it wasn't much of a blizzard at all. Actually, it was kind of a complete bust for the second time now. They completely got the forecast wrong.
I was off work, so I was pretty happy about that.
I wasn't off. I was pretty goddamn pissed. Actually.
I think we got I was like 4 to 6 inches from my remember.
Yeah, I don't even know if we got that much, to be honest with you. Maybe 4 inches, but
the issue here is that it was first snowed, then it started freezing rain, so that added like a sheet of ice onto the road, and then we had snow. But let's skip the weather. This is a video game podcast where we release every Tuesday and Friday. This is the Friday episode that's in your ears right now. Get excited. Our Tuesday episode, we break down the games that are releasing that week, and then also we briefly touch on them and, highlight the ones that we're interested in and talk more about them, and then we also break down a topic of discussion that you can submit yourself by tweeting us at 2JerseyKids or emailing us 2JerseyKids@gmail.com if you're interested to hear us blab on about a video game topic or whatever topic you want us to talk about. If not, Gary thinks of a topic for us, even though it's driving him insane lately because he's trying to rack his brain to figure out new topics to talk about.
I said it last episode. Help me with topics, damn it. Whoever's listening, again, right now, it's the beginning of the episode this time, so you haven't turned us off yet. Please suggest a topic to me at RealScavenger18 on Twitter. Please.
Or 2JerseyKids, But I mean, maybe now they're sticking around the 2-minute mark because they heard that lit intro song that we had going for us. That song is fucking on point. I remember that from Creed. It's not copyright because I only have like 10, not even 10 seconds of it, I believe. I think that's how it works. But yeah, so if you're a new listener and you like what you hear so far, hit that subscribe button. If you're still, wavering on whether or not you'll like me personally, I don't know. If you don't like me, maybe you won't like Gary because we're both not likable, or maybe we are. Who knows? But hit that subscribe button if you like us. If you're a continued listener, we really appreciate you so much. If you have the time, we would really appreciate you to do it right fucking now. Go rate us on whatever podcast service that you use. If it's iTunes, go rate us on iTunes. It'd be great. For the iTunes link, I will put it in the description for this episode. So, swipe over if you're using the iTunes app and you click it. If you're using like an app like Overcast, you should be able to still click it and it'll take you there if you have an Apple device. If you're using another, app service, then you can just, I don't know how you get to your rating portion on that, but do it! For some reason, I realized Google Play doesn't have their own rating system, which kind of sucks. I know some of my friends that are using Google Play, and I want to exploit that, so to speak.
Drive up the ratings. Yeah, I feel you.
But Gary says now we can finally get in. I'm done with the spiel and everything. What have you been up to? What have you been playing in the gaming world? Have you been playing more Horizon or Battlefield or Destiny, or have you been playing something random? Because I know you.
So with Horizon, I've kind of been taking a little break. I'm thinking about going back and playing like a hard playthrough, which is going to be really fucking intense because, let's be honest, normal really isn't that easy. But other than that, I've been trying to play Battlefield 1 because the They Shall Not Pass DLC came out, and I actually bought the season pass, which gave me like 2 weeks early access, which is why I'm able to play it right now.
Nice.
So I've been looking forward to getting back into that.
Probably be playing it after we were done recording, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's the bro shooter. I gotta link up with my bros and play some more.
I didn't say shit this time, so.
Well, I'm gonna say it for you because I know you're thinking it.
Oh,
but other than that, I've been playing NHL 17. I've actually been trying to create a franchise. I've been failing miserably because the simulation in that game is retarded, and it doesn't actually seem realistic in the slightest. So that's my life. Nothing really exciting.
If there's a developer out there that for some reason is listening to our podcast and that work on sports games, I would love for them to explain their simulation for those sports games in general, like what do they tabulate? How do they decide what teams win? Is it just a flip of a coin? Is it a random number generator? Or is it take in like the stats of the players and their overall rating, how well they're playing? I don't know how you can take into account how well they're playing together. I know old games they used to have, they added that chemistry bar for your team, and then they got rid of it. So I don't know exactly.
Well, what bothers me is like my team that I assembled was close to 90 overall in every category, and I still
super team.
I was like 10 games below 500 in December. I'm like, this is not how it's supposed to work. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to lose to these shitty teams.
You didn't make a cohesive unit. You just put all the all-stars, and having an all-star team, they're not actually a team.
Yeah.
You need role players. You need role players. You see that in the NBA. You can't have 5 all-stars because they all want the ball. You got to get those role players that'll stand in the corner and just watch and maybe shoot a 3 here or there.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my life. What have you been up to, man?
I've been playing more Horizon. I feel like I'm getting closer. You can probably tell me because I was telling you before if I'm getting closer to the end. I'm not positive.
You're kind of like considering you just got to Gravehorde, I would say, I guess you're maybe a little more than halfway through the main storyline.
Cool. I hear a car outside my apartment, so sorry if you can hear that.
I can.
But I've been playing more Horizon since I was off yesterday. I played a good chunk of it. But I was telling you before the podcast, I feel like everybody out there gets this feeling. Like, once you play too much of like a one game at least, you get kind of, it's not like, I guess, tired of it, even though you like the game, but you get tired of doing the same, I guess, thing over and over for a long period of time, even if Horizon is a great game, feels great. I don't know. I just, at a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this down. I'm done with this. I'm going to watch Netflix or read a book. I end up later in the night when I was watching Netflix, I started playing Hearthstone, which I'm getting back into playing on my iPad. Really enjoy that game. There's going to be a topic about the new expansion coming out, which I'm pumped. I'll explain why I'm pumped. It's generic reasons, which I think people will understand. And that's all I've been really playing. And it's funny that you mentioned how that Horizon is actually difficult, even on normal mode. It's definitely different coming from a game that I was playing before this, Neo, where that game is fucking insane. I don't think there's actually like a difficulty setting. It's all just hard. That's all it is. Coming to this game, and it's not nearly as excruciating, even though I can tell that there is some difficulties with fighting these beasts, especially when you're underpowered and you don't know exactly how they fight. I finally took down a Thunderjaw by myself in like in one of the cauldrons, like arena based. I was like, holy shit!
That's the thing. The biggest thing that I discovered about combat in that game is it's all about just like, it's probably pretty
being
obvious
tactical
to most people, but it's about just ripping the components off these machines. If you just rip off all their weapons, their armor, they're basically just charging at you, running at you, trying to do melee damage, which you can avoid easily.
Yeah.
But actually, I was not to get sidetrack us here, but did
we
you
always
do the
get sidetracked? So don't worry about it.
Have you by any chance got the ancient armor quest?
No, not yet.
All right. Well, it's not like part of the story necessarily, but let me just put it this way: you're going to want to do that quest like probably before you beat the game because it really helps. Just saying.
Okay, good to know. Ancient armor.
Throwing it out there.
I don't know how to get it, but maybe I'll look it up. Maybe I'll find it. But yeah, you were saying that the game is all about being like, I guess, tactical, finding like the weak points and shooting off their components so they're not launching shots at me. I remember telling it, I think in the last episode 28, where I was fighting a rock breaker. The game, it was fucking, I couldn't understand why I couldn't beat him. I ended up getting like the arrows where it just like vibrates, it's like with the sharpshooter bow, vibrates and destroys all the armor components. And then I started picking off like the portions that the rockbiter uses, and that's the same thing I did with the Thunderjaw. Took out the armor, shot specifically because if you hit the components that like they use the fire things, it actually does more damage than hitting them in the body. I finally opened up the side of the Thunderjaw where I could see like the quote unquote heart and started taking them out, which did more damage, and I ended up winning. It was great. The only issue is when you're fighting those big, gigantic things and you have other fucking machines coming at you, which was right at the beginning where I had to take out a bunch of watchers beforehand. But, pain
in the ass.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes it more difficult, I guess you could say. But Still enjoying Horizon. Just because I stopped playing it for a second doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. Because you are allowed to take breaks from a game if it's tiring you. It's allowed. But Gary, now that I'm done talking about myself, we're going to your topic. And this week in gaming, what has been released this week?
All right. So we're going to take a step back to 2000.
Brought to you by Gatorade. Not really.
Thank you for that. All right. So we're taking a step back to 2007. God of War 2 was released on PlayStation 2. Now, God
of War 2, if you didn't hear me when I over-talked Gary, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Actually, I want to move on to my second game, which is also God of War. God of War 3 was released on PlayStation 3 back in 2010. I remember you playing this game. I never actually picked up this game at all. It was just kind of passed me by. But I remember you were actually used to be pretty into this game.
Yeah, I remember I wasn't into it when it originally came out. And I remember the first time that I saw the God of War games was actually the G4 show. I think, what was it called? Cheaters? Is that what it was called?
That sounds familiar.
Where they would go through cheat codes or like show you strategies on how to beat a boss. I remember one of the bosses was like a Minotaur of some kind where you had to launch a spike into him. I think it was God of War 1. That's my first experience with that game. I guess you call it experience by just watching it. Then I remember I had a PS3. I keep saying I remember, which is true. It's a true statement. I had a PS3, and I saw God of War 3 was coming out. I was kind of excited. And then I was at like a Target or a Walmart, and I saw the God of War, not Legacy, but it was like 2 for 1. Like, it was a solid deal, too. I forget how much I paid for it. Maybe it was like $15 for the first 2 games for the PS3. So I played through those. Really rad. I liked it. I mean, the Kratos was not a fleshed-out character, but back in those days, you could have a very bravado-ish, loud male character, and, I mean, people enjoyed it. It was a lot of hack and slash. It was good. I mean, it was good hack and slash combat. I really, really enjoyed it. It was like the first introduction, I guess, of quick time events, I guess you could say, when you're finishing off an opponent. God of War 3 was a visual spectacle on PS3 back in the day. It was a beautiful game. I remember specifically one of the ending of God of War 3 where you're fighting Zeus and then you end up spoiler alerts, you just punch the shit out of him. You could keep punching him and your screen can get completely red and you keep punching him and nothing really happens after that. But I mean, I just remember the brutality of God of War 3 and how Kratos was just such a loud character. Didn't have many lines, just yelled at the gods constantly for being angry. But I mean, it was a great escapist game, I guess you could say. You're not really putting too much thought in the game. It's very comfort food-esque type of game.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a game that you don't really have to think too deeply into. But anyway, the next 2 games on the list are pretty interesting. I have Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six 3 released on PlayStation 2 back in 2004. I know a lot of people that were huge fans of this game, especially, I guess, the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon. That was actually one of my first introductions to the, I guess, first-person shooter war-style game. I had that back when I was like 10, so I got that a few years before I really could buy mature games myself.
I think
Thank you, parents.
The first Rainbow Six game I had was Rainbow Six, was it Vegas? I think that was my first game, and I remember just playing with friends from high school. We would just do terrorist hunt on like a map, co-op, trying to take them out on like the hardest difficulty. Good time. Very tactical game. Really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah. And of course, last but not least, feeding into the episode that we had last week about sports games is NHL Rock the Rink, released on PlayStation.
Last week, you mean on Tuesday, Gary? Damn it, get your days straight.
Oh, God. But yeah, my days have been really off lately. I actually I'm not even going to get into work. It pisses me off too much. But anyway, yeah, NHL Rock the Rink released in 2000. So I actually never played this game either, but I remember a friend who wasn't even into hockey played this game, and he was big on it because basically all you did in the game was fight people and kind of just go crazy.
It was NHL Hits before NHL Hits.
I guess you could say that, yeah. I mean, I was looking at some pictures, and granted, it looks quite terrible, by today's standards.
PlayStation game.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, yeah, I mean, I know by today's standards, it looks terrible, but yeah, it just kind of looks like a real like crazy, just fighting hockey game.
It's crazy to think about how PlayStation or PlayStation 2 was such an upgrade visually when you're in that time period. However, and then you're looking at old pixel art games from Nintendo, and seeing that they looked like baby games, or they didn't look as good as these 3D models or polygon models. But now looking back, it shows how certain like hand-drawn pixel art holds up a lot better than these PlayStation 2-esque polygon figures.
Oh my God,
day.
yes. Well, that's the thing. Back when I played Ghost Recon, I remember playing that game and thinking, like, man, this looks unbelievable. And now I remember I went back to playing that game, like, I don't know, a few years back, and I played it again for the first time in years, and I was like, man, this looks pretty goddamn terrible.
Yeah,
like,
that happens with all games. You remember them completely different. You remember them as being beautiful, and then you go back and you're like, Jesus, what the hell? I remember Tony Hawk Pro Skater like 3 or 4, I remember looked amazing. And I went back to those games and like they don't look nearly as good as like Tony Hawk, Tony Hawk Project 8. Even though that wasn't nearly as good as a game as those games, it looked a lot better.
Yeah, it actually makes me wonder sometimes if we're going to look back at PlayStation 4 and be like, man, that didn't really look that good either. But how? How could that be? Because like I look at the way these characters look now, and it's like, this looks pretty damn good, even if it gets better, which I don't...
I feel like we're getting to a plateau at some point. I know PC games, they do look more beautiful, which is like the environments and everything.
Like crisp.
They run better. But I don't know how much better can they actually get? Just, it looks like an actual human being on screen? I don't know if I want that.
I think that I think when it'll truly get better when like I know how Horizon you'll see like raindrops falling on their face and like it really like that detail. I think when the detail, like the small details get better, that's like when
you hit that final point.
Yeah, exactly. Like when water like
that's when game developers are gonna have to think of different ideas instead of trying to up the
virtual reality
and visuals of the game. They actually be more unique. Different settings and not doing cookie cutter type games. I don't know. Shall we get into the articles, Gary?
Yes, sir. That has been it for This Week in Gaming, brought to you by Gatorade.
Circus of Values.
And you keep throwing that in there. I'm not sure why. I'm not really sure why.
This whole podcast is a circus of values. You get the news. You get our geniusness. And
it's a circus.
Yeah, it is. First topic of the day, Gambling Commission warns parents about gambling websites. Gary, make sure you're writing down the timestamp for me, please.
Yes, thank you.
You already forgot, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I pulled together everything. This is why I hold it all together. This is written by Wesley Yinpool over at Eurogamer. The Gambling Commission has warned parents about gambling websites, calling them, quote, parasites feeding off popular video games, end quote. The UK Gambling Commission recently helped secure a first-of-its-kind prosecution of 2 men running a FIFA gambling website called FUT Galaxy that let users place bets using FIFA's coin-based currency. YouTuber Craig Nepenthes Douglas was ordered to pay fines that cost £91,000, while business associates Dylan Rigby was told to pay £174,000. I think that's pounds. This happens to me every time. I'm pretty certain it's pounds. Douglas and Rigby were admonished in court for the length of time they operated the site and for allowing children to take part. Jurors heard how one 14-year-old boy lost 586 pounds in just one day. Video evidence from the Nepenthes channel, which enjoys 1.4 million subscribers, also showed Douglas telling viewers, quote, you don't have to be 18 for this because this is virtual currency, end quote. Now the Gambling Commission has found there's been an increase in the popularity of unregulated third-party websites, offering gamers the opportunity to gamble on the outcome of video game tournaments with in-game items. In the case of Counter-Strike gambling websites, users gamble for weapon skins. When it comes to FIFA, websites use FIFA Ultimate Team coins as currency. Many of these sites, the Gambling Commission said, are illegal. Quote, mums and dads could be giving money to a child thinking that they are playing a computer game when in fact they are gambling, and this is a real worry, end quote. Gambling Commission CEO Sarah Harrison said, continuing, quote, Gambling on esports with in-game items is growing, and we need to make sure all gambling is fair, safe, crime-free, and protects the young and vulnerable, end quote. The Gambling Commission spoke with representatives of the video game industry about the thorny subject of gambling, and according to its positions paper, publishers insisted in-game items were provided in a, quote, closed-loop, quote, end quote, fashion, which means they're not intended to be exchanged for cash, either with the publishers, with other players, or with third parties. Of course, there are plenty of websites out there that do enable trading virtual items and currency for cash, whether the publishers and developers intend for it to happen or not. According to the Gambling Commission, the video game industry representatives acknowledge users of their networks are, quote, occasionally, end quote, exploiting their open nature to do so. The Gambling Commission doesn't sound particularly happy with the use of the word occasionally. Quote, based on open source research, the volume, variety, and sophistication of websites advertising opportunities to exchange in-game items for cash indicates that to term such circumvention of regulations as occasional risk understanding the extent of the issue, end quote, reads the paper. The Gambling Commission said the ability to convert in-game items into cash or to trade them for other items of value means that they have a real-world value and therefore become articles of money. This article continues for a while, which I read more thoroughly into, but I just wanted to give, the first basic of, what was going on in this article, which it shows a real problem in this industry, how they're, exploiting, unfortunately, these young kids that are sometimes, I guess, taking parents' money, as you see with them, with stories of them purchasing microtransactions on iPhone games that rack up to the thousands. You can see how this could be very vulnerable to young kids that don't understand the risk of spending their money that they don't actually own. What are you going to say, Gary?
I was just going to say that in terms of any YouTuber or streamer that actually encourages this sort of thing, you have to be a special type of scumbag to actually
completely agree.
I mean, seriously, to basically encourage a child. Let's be honest. I mean, even if you're 14, you're still basically a child at that point. You're encouraging people, a kid like this, to gamble money that's not even theirs, likely not even theirs. But at the same time, I was reading the comments. I like to hear what people actually have to say about the article. And people were saying that, developers also are kind of at fault because they allow these quote unquote RNG microtransactions. Like if you ever played the game Battlefield, you can spend actual money on battle packs, but the battle pack itself, even if it's like a rare battle pack or whatever they call it, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you're getting what you want. So you just keep buying them to try to get what you want out of the battle pack. But basically they're saying that the developers are equally at fault for this because they're doing this. But at the same time, I was going to say, I think that there's some sort of personal responsibility that's involved with this.
Agreed.
As if you're an adult and you're willing to blow money away on, whatever it is, like battle packs or attribute boosts or whatever the hell it is, that's your decision. You're wasting your money, in my opinion, and that's your problem. It shouldn't have to. Gaming developers shouldn't have to just be like, all right, we're getting rid of all this shit because people can't
control themselves,
control their kids, or whatever their problems are. It's a double-edged sword, honestly.
I think people need to take personal responsibility for their actions. If you're over 18 or 21, that is your problem. You can't blame the developers for something that you're having an issue with. I'm sorry. I know gambling is a problem in this today's day and age, but sometimes with this, you can't blame an outside entity for you wanting to do this. It's something that it's basically an addiction. So I believe you have to take personal responsibility and say you have an issue with this problem and you need to go look for help. But you can't blame a game developer who doesn't even have this in mind. This is what they're not trying to produce this outcome. They're just trying to make a great game that's rewarding to people and not trying to fuel somebody's gambling addiction. And I don't think blaming the developer is the right solution. Now, I think the issue comes in with these third-party developer or third-parties gambling sites. The issue is when you say you don't have to be 18 because this is virtual currency to bet. That is where I draw the line with allowing people that are younger than 18 or younger than 21, even though I think it should be 21 across the board, because 18, let's be real, you're not really an adult anymore, because once you get 18, it's kind of, you still not completely adult level yet. I mean, you say that about 21. I mean, when I was 21, I was still not an adult. But I think at a certain point, there needs to be better regulations for these third-party sites. So there's not those young. I just don't want these young kids getting exploited for money that's not theirs, and they unfortunately don't understand the consequences. They could be gambling away money that their parents could actually use, and they don't understand the consequences behind it. And it could go them. I don't want to go extreme, but it could lead them down a dark path. Where they want to start gambling even more.
Indeed. And one last thing. There's also nothing wrong with microtransactions. I know nowadays, one person says that microtransactions are terrible, and they say it enough times, and soon enough, every video gamer under the sun thinks that microtransactions are the worst things ever. But in reality, they aren't. And there's nothing wrong with a video game company putting these things in games to try to make extra cash. Nothing wrong with it. It's business. It's the way it's done. But I just wanted to make that point, honestly, because it's like I'm reading again in the comments section because I find it very entertaining to me. People are ripping apart companies for doing this, and it's just like, look, they're trying to make extra money. Okay? That's all it is.
So now with the whole microtransaction thing, I was going to continue on, but what you said kind of interests me. So how do you feel about – so you feel like microtransactions for something that doesn't affect the game, like cosmetic skins or,
yes,
different customizations are completely fine because that is somebody realizing that this is not going to affect the game. They actually want this. This is their personal responsibility with what they want to do with their money. They want to purchase this, so it's on them.
Yeah, yeah.
However, do you feel differently if microtransactions – like you see in mobile games, how microtransactions sort of block you from continuing on in the game. It block you from actually, going further in a game. Does that bother you how it's kind of different in, the mobile space where you're playing this game, and I personally believe that you should buy a game. I don't believe the whole microtransaction. I don't like it when you buy a game, and then also there's microtransactions that stop you from progressing forward. I'm not a fan of what they did in NHL, where you could get microtransactions to better improve your player online. That really peeved me. I don't like using microtransactions to get a leg up on people, whether it's playing online or a leg up in the game itself, because the game itself is about the experience, not paying your way to get to the end better or quicker. That's just me. I
don't like. I mean, I don't like that. I don't like when they have microtransactions that basically, like you said, it gives you an advantage over players that are willing to put in more time. But at the same time, it's like I don't really know what you can actually do about it. I mean, it's a business, and it's basically their right to put these things into the game. I mean, it's shitty. I don't really like that either. I mean, if it's something that doesn't affect the game, I'm all about it. But if it's
agreed.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I'm going to move on to the next article. Shall I? It's very straightforward. Over the PSN blog, they announced that Drawn to Death is free for PS Plus members this April. It's kind of exciting. It's a game developed by the David Jaffe. I think he was originally at IGN, and he was behind the game Rocket League, which has such a huge following. And if you check out videos of Drawn to Death, it's kind of like a online multiplayer shooter with different. Each character has a different, perk, kind of, not perk, but different play style, I guess you could say, with different weapons. And the artistic style is actually really cool. It looks like doodles that you see like somebody in high school playing. They're drawing these characters, and that's like the environment. It's like black and white with a little bit of color. It looks like a really beautiful game. Looks like it could be fun. The fact that it's free on PS Plus makes it amazing. I'm pretty excited to hop into it, and especially since it's multiplayer. Gary, this could be the game we finally play together. It's not a bro shooter,
Hey, see, you finally said it. You finally said what was on your mind. But I will say this game does look cool, though. I like the idea. Like you said, I like the idea of the fact that the whole thing kind of takes place in a kid's notebook. That's really a clever idea that you really wouldn't think of or see that often in a game.
Gary, you make me laugh. You let me down again.
What, with the stopwatch?
Yeah.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, because we weren't really clear about it, we were trying to. I was supposed to set a stopwatch, okay, in the beginning of this podcast, and then basically, stop it and start it basically at every time.
All you had to do was hit the stopwatch, see the time when I started reading the article, and then write it down. You had one job.
Granted, it was thrown on me before the podcast, and I've never done it before, so I wasn't prepared to do it. So just saying,
difficult looking at a time and writing it down.
Actually, the thing that really got me is someone texted me, and as soon as I texted them back, locked my phone because I had my stopwatch open, and then I locked the phone. Yeah, kind of stupid. But anyway, just to clarify,
blame the other person, not yourself. Take responsibility, like you already said, Gary. Take responsibility for your fuck up. Moving on. Oh, there's been new information about the Uncharted Lost Legacy that's coming out. Elvis Ferris, or Elise, not Elvis. What the fuck am I saying? Take responsibility for my shitty speak. Fucking shitty reading style. That's better. Shitty speak. What the fuck is that, Adam? Elise Favis over at Game Informer writes, she lists 6 different things that are going to be new in the Uncharted Lost Legacy, and I figured I'd just read the bullet points, or not bullet points, read the sections that she writes up. So first off, you have a new duo of thieves. The series moves away from Nathan Drake for the first time, and the team saw room to explore this universe further with a pair of familiar faces, Chloe Fraser and Nadine Ross. Chloe's the playable protagonist, and the two must overcome their differences in order to achieve their goal. Chloe leads the way and has moved up in the treasure hunting business, coming into her own and returning to India in search of a treasure called the Tusk of Ganesh. She enlists mercenary Nadine, who we met in Uncharted 4 because of her particular skill set. The conflict between the two and how that relationship unfolds is a big part of what the Lost Legacy is about. This one portion already kind of gets me excited. It gets into what Uncharted, or what Naughty Dog has done well with, these cast of characters and putting two people that are somewhat different, kind of different, and can clash together, like you see in The Last of Us, where Ellie's a strong character that clashes with Joel's very stubborn personality. They both clash together, but also are kind of a good pair. So it would be great seeing these two together. I'm curious to see how or where this takes place in relative to Uncharted 4. Is it after? Is it before? How these two meet up? What's the whole story behind that? I'm kind of excited.
On the other hand, I'm like a huge Uncharted. I'm a huge Uncharted fan, or at least a fan of the series. But I am interested to see what this game is, because from what I'm reading is it's not going to be as long as Uncharted 4, but it's going to be longer than The Last of Us DLC. So what is the game actually going to be?
Spoiling it, Gary. That's one of the. Damn it.
No, but seriously, what is it going to actually be? I mean, is it going to be an actual full game, or is it going to be like half a game?
I feel like it could be, nice, maybe 5-6 hour game. The Last of Us DLC Left Behind was only 2 hours. It was just mostly storytelling, barely anything, action to it. So I can see it being like a combination of actually doing something with like Uncharted 4 style mixed with The Last of Us kind of storytelling. That's the thing with Uncharted. The Uncharted making single game like this, single experience like this. Uncharted, you're known for the exploration and climbing on walls and taking out bad guys, where Last of Us, the Left Behind fits so well is because most of Last of Us is about storytelling and sneaking around, and that's what would have been great, or that's what was great about Left Behind DLC for The Last of Us. It was just mostly storytelling. They had one little part, I guess, so people didn't get pissed off of them for not actually be a game where you could just explore what Ellie was doing before she met Joel.
At the same time, though, would that storytelling aspect really fit well into the Uncharted?
I mean, they did it with Uncharted 4. They're just good at storytelling.
I know. I mean, I know there's still storytelling in Uncharted, but I'm not sure if it's the same game as The Last of Us, though. If it's,
I'm not saying it's the same game. I'm just saying that they're good with storytelling. They tell the story in the Uncharted world differently than they do in The Last of Us. But I think they know that they know how to tell the story in this.
No, world. I got you. Anyway, you can continue the arc. I'll hold my tongue until
How fucking dare you question me, Gary?
Yeah, sure.
The next section is called A Personal Setting. Chloe is half Australian, half Indian, and we learn about her Indian roots in the standalone entry. Quote, the setting of the game has a personal connection with Chloe's background, and it adds a certain depth to everything you're doing in that environment. It has more meaning for her. End quote. Uncharted writer Josh Schreier says, in a short demo we saw during our trip to Naughty Dog, Chloe and Nadine approach a large waterfall sided with two grandiose elephant statues. It's clear that these moments hold meaning to Chloe as Nadine makes a quip about how Chloe should take a photo for her father. The treasure the two search for is also significant to Chloe, and their journey ties into mystical stories relating to Hindu gods that were told to her as bedtime stories when she was young. Fascinating what they're going to be exploring. Bigger environments. Uncharted 4 Madagascar was one of the larger locales in Uncharted 4, giving players more freedom. The Lost Legacy further expands these open environments, all the while telling a linear story. In The Lost Legacy, Chloe and Nadine travel to the Western Ghats? I don't know exactly how to say that.
I think you had it right the first time.
Ghats? A royal mountain region in India they traverse by jeep is reminiscent of Madagascar in the way that they are different terrains of mud, water, and rocks, along with a stunning vista. A key difference in the Western Ghats is geographically larger than Madagascar and the biggest environment the series has seen yet. Quote, we have this really great location of these royal Western Ghats that allow us to get a real true sense of exploration, kind of unlike anything we've done before, where the level design isn't directing you exactly where to go, and you're free to explore, find things, and discover things. End quote. Game director Kurt McGovney says. How do you feel about their, Naughty Dog is trying to expand their ability by, creating more open worlds and everything?
I thought that the Madagascar setting in Uncharted 4, right? Uncharted 4? Yeah, correct. I thought that was a pretty awesome part of that game because it was just, I think it really showed how, I guess it showed how do I want to word this?
I don't know.
They really fleshed out the environment, I feel like, with the PlayStation 4. It showed the power of the PlayStation 4 and what they were capable of and how well they could design a massive area. So I'm interested to see what this new environment looks like because the Madagascar part of that game was absolutely beautiful. Stunning, actually. The graphics in that section were beautiful, to say the least. Agreed.
I'm going to read these final 3 points, and then we can digest them all together. Yay! Togetherness! Meet antagonist Asva. Asva? That's Asav. Sure. A new Uncharted entry also means a new central enemy. In The Lost Legacy, you'll meet Asav, a barrel-chested insurgent rebel leader who formerly worked for the government. His unearthing treasures, artifacts, and murals that are culturally significant to the region and has several reasons behind his actions. Quote, he has a history with the government. He feels left out in solving the conflicts the government solved at one point, and he's now a lone rebel trying to create war and profit from it. And creative director Sean Escaig says Asav believes in his cause, but Naughty Dog reminds us that this is a world of thieves. Everyone is looking out for themselves, and this can make for morally gray characters despite their motivations. It's also a small world of thieves, just like how Nadine and Sully happen to know each other. Nadine has a similar connection to Asav, who she has worked with in the past. Oh, juicy drama! A condensed story. Because it's a standalone game, The Lost Legacy will be more condensed. It's longer, like you said, it's longer than The Last of Us DLC Left Behind, but shorter than Uncharted 4. While The Lost Legacy will still have those enormous set pieces and grandiose moments Uncharted is known for, it's still a smaller scale Uncharted experience. Naughty Dog made it clear that this is a new game and not an expansion of Uncharted 4. It was a way for the team to look at the series universe from a new perspective. Quote, this is something we can do completely independently while still in the same universe with the same characters and exploring new relationships with them, end quote, Scheer says. Finally, we have gameplay tweaks. The Lost Legacy will feature all the pillars of Uncharted from rope swinging to puzzle solving, but there are smaller changes worth noting. Stealth has been an option in several Uncharted entries, but Uncharted 4 built on this idea further with sections of tall grass and awareness meter for enemies. This comes back in the Lost Legacy with even more stealth capabilities. For the first time, you can equip a silent pistol to kill foes from afar. As for combat, Chloe has a more martial arts vibe to her fighting moves, whereas Nathan was more of a brawler. I have to say, with a silent pistol, thank freaking God for that. I wanted that for the longest time in my Uncharted games, just to be able to take out people with silence from afar.
The only time I can remember actually incapacitating somebody from afar was when in Uncharted 2, where you had the tranquilizer gun. It wasn't really a silenced pistol, but it was like a tranquilizer. So that was the only time they ever had it, though. Made things a lot easier.
What game was that again? Uncharted 2?
Uncharted 2, where it's like the first, like, I guess, probably right in the beginning of the game where you're going into that museum, you're going into a museum trying to steal that, special artifact, and you get the idea. But you get betrayed, and you get the idea.
I think it's fascinating how, like you're saying, Naughty Dog does create these morally gray stories, as you saw with The Last of Us. They're able to create and draw out these morally gray stories, I'm repeating myself with The Last of Us. Uncharted really has actually never been that. It's normally been Nathan as a, basically folk hero, Indiana Jones style, always comes out on top as the hero, per se. I mean, he's a flawed hero, definitely, for sure. He's flawed, but he's the hero nonetheless, and I think what it sounds like this game is actually going to go more into the morally gray area with Chloe and Nadine, because Nadine is not the best of character. Like, she's kind of plays the antagonist in Uncharted 4.
Neither is Chloe.
Exactly. So we'll see. You're kind of, I guess, in this you'll be playing as the anti-hero, where she's going to be the hero in this story, but in the grand scheme of things, never wasn't really the hero compared to Nate.
I mean, I like what I'm always out to play more Uncharted or something set in the Uncharted universe, but my only real question is whether or not or how this game is going to move on kind of without Drake as the main character, because I guess Chloe's a fan favorite. I never got that impression personally. I mean, I liked her as a character, but she wasn't someone I was always looking back like, man, Chloe, like, awesome. I mean, I guess she was, but I'm interested to see how they move on without Drake, because Drake's like one of those guys Drake's like one of those characters basically that you kind of like build on, like, as a company. Like Sony, like when Sony, makes like a new PS3 or a new PS4, like on the box of that PS4 is Nathan Drake and like a few other characters, like famous characters. And like, I just wonder how they're going to move on now, at least in this game. Even if it's a standalone, like, shorter game, I'm interested to see how the game moves without Drake as the main character. That's all. Yeah.
That's a valid point. Even though I feel like now with Guerrilla's Horizon game, they found a new main character for Sony. We'll touch on it more, but
I mean, it's still different though.
Sony has been putting it out there, like Horizon, the game, constantly. I see on TV. There's actually an article talking about TV ads in February, which is actually kind of interesting. That certain game companies out there. But moving on, I'm not gonna really read too much of this article. It's mostly talking about over Kotaku. Jason Schreier finds how Rockstar fans are, finding Red Dead Redemption 2 clues by just basically stalking people. So he says, for example, on March 7th, one fan discovered an actor's resume saying he did mocap for Dutch in Red Dead Redemption 2. Dutch, of course, dies in the first game, so him popping back up is a big clue that Red Dead Redemption 2 is set in the distant past. They also go into how people have been liking each other, like voice actors have been liking each other on Twitter or following each other. They're also friends on Facebook. I like the thing at the bottom, one of the commenters, Lost in Space, where he or she writes, in the old days, we just called it stalking. But yeah. I mean, I didn't really want to go into what they're doing per se, but what are your thoughts on doing a prequel to Red Dead Redemption and when John Marston was in the gang?
Well, I mean, I like the idea of a prequel because I think John Marston is more of an interesting character than his son. I mean, you could always make his son more interesting, obviously, if you make a sequel. But I mean, I think a lot of people loved John Marston. I always thought he was a really badass character, and I don't think anybody would be opposed to actually doing a prequel and playing as him in his heyday back when he was kicking ass. So I'm all for it. But in terms of what they're doing to actually figure out if it is a prequel, it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't really know how much. I think they're kind of grasping at straws, to be honest. Like, yeah, okay, so people are friends with each other on social media. A lot of people are. Doesn't mean anything.
I think Red Dead Net, that was mentioned in this article, actually follows us. We're famous through, follows. That's how it works, right?
Oh, yeah, something like that.
I mean, how much time do people have to do to go through and, like, search these things? Like, how do you find somebody's resume online? Like, how do you do that?
It's called either they're the worst employees on the face of the earth, or they don't have actual jobs.
Damn!
I'm
Oh,
just saying.
shit!
No, seriously, who the hell actually does have time? Like, I mean, unless there's a group of people like this that like just divide up these tasks and are like, all right, for a week, we just want you to do this, and they just divide up all these small tasks to figure out what the hell's going on. If this is going to be a prequel, kind of crazy. Just saying.
Jesus Christ, Gary, that's mean. Moving on. You'd be writing down the time now if you actually did it. PS4 sales passed 4.5 million units in Japan. PS4 Pro sales passed 200,000 units. Giuseppe Nava over at DualShockers writes, according to the new figures from Media Crate, combined with historical data, overall PS4 sales have overtaken 4.5 million units, and the console is currently sitting on a total of 4,518,038 units that found a warm and loving Japanese home as of Sunday, March 12th, just a little over 3 years after its launch. The PS4 Pro model also reached a milestone, even if much smaller, with over 200,000 units sold in the country. If you want to be specific, it's 205,502 PS4 consoles sold, since its launch. But I actually did total values of Sony consoles in Japan, because Sony or Nintendo are the only ones that really do well, and I was just curious how Sony's past consoles have done in Japan. For some reason, what I looked up, they didn't have PlayStation, but it's all starting off the low end. It's going to pass Vita, for sure. Vita only has 5 million units sold in Japan. Poor Vita. Oh, God, I love Vita. It's a good handheld that people didn't give a chance to. Even I don't think Sony gave a chance to it, because they never put good games on it. Then you have, coming in at third, you have the PS3 at 10.4 million units. I feel like PS4 will for sure get there in the coming future, unless they start, PS5 comes out soon. Then you have PSP, which sold 16.8 million units, which I guess shows you how well they did in the mobile market, especially in Japan. A lot of people like mobile gaming. And also PSP, you could jailbreak the phone, so you could play like SNES games or NES games or Game Boy games on the PSP, which is really what sold PSP initially. And then you have the largest, which is obviously the PS2, which sold 21.5 million units. I just thought it was an interesting comparison.
Yeah, I think the PSP was kind of ahead of its time. Like that I remember back when that was coming out. Like that was like space age. I'm not sure if you remember, but it really was. It was awesome. It was just the coolest thing. But interestingly,
I just remember the discs that they used. Those fucking UMB discs or whatever that bullshit was. Trying to make it the future. Yeah. Moving on. The 24th Overwatch character arrives next week. Jessica Condit over at Engadget writes, Orisa, the latest character to enter Overwatch Fray, will be widely available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One on March 21st. Orisa is an anchor tank, as Blizzard calls it. This means she's kind of massive, damage-absorbing hero that an entire team can rally behind and use as a home base, even in the middle of a hectic fight. Reinhardt is another example of an anchor tank in Overwatch. Orisa is a mix of Reinhardt, a big, healthy character with a giant shield, and Zara, who has a laser gun and barrels she can throw onto her or barriers that she can throw onto her allies. But she has 4 legs, and she's a robot, and she was built by an 11-year-old genius, Aoife Alado, who lives in the peninsula. I think it's fascinating how Blizzard keeps expanding Overwatch. They kind of give backstories to these characters. I guess they originally planned for these characters when they were her ideas when they were creating, what was it, Project Titan? Is that what it was called? They were planning on doing that MMO, but they still have the assets. That's what it's called. Assets, when they created Overwatch, it's kind of like a amalgamesh of what they originally had, and they transferred it over to Overwatch. I just think it's fascinating. They're giving like new characters, adding new variety to this game, which is a fucking fantastic shooter, might I add. It's definitely different. Even if you're not good at shooters, you can feel like you are helping if you're a healer or a tank, because you don't have to do damage, you don't have to kill somebody, you just have to get the objective there, and if you're doing your role as a healer, you're healing up people on your team that are doing DPS or tanking, or if you're a tank and just absorbing the hits or blocking or drawing all the fire, you're doing your job, which I feel like that's what people really enjoy about this game, because they don't have to be, the top bro shooter that Gary loves to be in like Battlefield or Destiny. You can be just a support character and still do well. You get highlighted at the end of the match if you have like the most heals or the most damage absorbed.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So you're saying, because Battlefield 1 also has similar things as well, actually. Top heals, top revives.
They took that from Overwatch, score. So fuck you, Gary.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's a fucking bro shooter. You're not doing objectives as well as Overwatch. There's a cast of characters. You're not the same fucking person constantly trying to shoot people. You have to do your job.
If you're playing Conquest, it very much is team-based.
You're not doing your job. What fucking tank is in Battlefield 1?
Well, there are tanks.
No, legitimate character tank. Exactly. Case closed. Lawyer, shut up, I win. I run the show. This is my show. Oh, man. This is about time where people shut off the podcast because they're fucking annoyed at me. You love me all. Oh, no, not this bullshit where I have to don't run ad block on this page.
Oh, yeah. By the way, one of your articles that I clicked on earlier, it actually came up with one of those fake, your computer has contracted a virus. Call this number immediately, toll free. I'm like, oh, thanks, Adam. Thanks. Trying to scam me out of millions. Because I have millions.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Even though I know what you have, Gary, and I'm not going to try to scam you. I'll scam like, Bill Gates. That's what I do. But just kidding. I don't scam anybody because I'm not that good a hacker. But it's actually, I'm excited because there's a Hearthstone expansion that comes. I'm just going to read. It's not really an article because there's a trailer that came out today, but Mike Minuto over at VentureBeat kind of breaks it down. With Hearthstone's next expansion, Journey to Ongoro, comes out in mid-April. It will add 135 new cards to the digital game behemoth. Hearthstone earned $394.6 million earned in revenue, according to research firm Superdata. Ongoro Crater is the first of 3 expansions Blizzard has planned for 2017. Its release also marks the start of the next standard cycle, Year of the Mammoth. This will put cards from the older Blackrock Mountain, the Grand Tournament, and League of Explorers sets into wild rotation, meaning they won't be eligible for standard decks. To help promote the expansion, they did a video series. Essentially, that's basically all. It's coming out mid-April. I'm really excited about this. I like new expansions for Hearthstone because it adds, especially with Standard now. Gary, if you don't know, Standard is they have 4 sets of cards, I guess you could say, or 4 seasons. So once a certain season, so this mid-April culminates to the next season, and once that season hits, whatever was released in the last season in the line gets put into Wild, which is you can use all the decks. Standard ends up being you can only make decks out of that set of cards, so it makes it more variety. It changes up the meta of the game, so you don't have now.
Very smart.
Right now, it's a bunch of which they've nerfed certain cards, so it's not completely what it was before, which took them a while to do. It was originally it's called Aggro Warrior or Pirate Shaman, where just basically just everybody rushing and getting these small little pirates and taking you down as quickly as possible, which decks that are built larger with larger monsters larger cards, I guess you say, mana cost cards, you can't get them out in time to save you, essentially, because somebody controls the board long enough that you're basically done. So I'm excited because new cards means new deck varieties. It means people figuring out new builds, trying to figure out the best, and that's what I do. I like playing it, and I also like watching people figuring on YouTube that know the game more than I do, and them figuring out what the best strategy is. And hopefully now with the new set, they're not going to be what I've heard certain Hearthstone streamers like Amaz saying, how it used to be when somebody was a certain class, you didn't know right away what class they were going to be. So, for example, the Warlock class, you may not know this, but people that know Hearthstone, there's a Warlock class. So when you're playing, it could have been Handlock, it could have been Zoo, it could have been, I guess, Reno lock. Then you have, like, Mage. It could have been Tempo Mage, and then you could have had Reno, and then you could have Freeze Mage, or Control Paladin the same way. That's what they got away with the new expansion they had recently. And now with this expansion, they're adding different types of cards, I guess you could say, which are called elements. So certain cards that are like dragons or elements, I guess, and beasts. So they're adding the new element card type, which is kind of cool, and adding it to previous ones. Then they're adding like these quest cards, which if you complete the quest, it's kind of like it takes your secret slot. If you complete the quest, you get a really great card. So it's going to add like new variety to the game, which is what makes card creation games great, is when they add new things to it to make it feel fresh. And hopefully with this new expansion, they build up classes that haven't been played as much, which is what happened with Shaman. Previously, Shaman, the Shaman class was never played in the previous standard set, and now all of a sudden Shaman became amazing with the cards that they were using or they were given. So hopefully now the pendulum will swing back, and hopefully they don't create like overpowered cards for certain classes. They just make it more interesting and more variety of decks that people can play. And I'm pumped to see what cards. That's one of my favorites. Sorry, I'm talking so long, but it's one of my favorites about expansions is that I like to see the new cards that are coming out and people rating it and see what they think it's going to be like before it does come out. I can go into examples, but I don't know if people want to hear me blabber on anymore.
So what you're saying is that you really enjoy this game?
Yes.
Okay.
Really
I was just wondering.
Looking for the new, just want the new variety and everything. Holy shit!
Hell yeah!
This episode's going to go on forever.
It's feeling like it. It's a marathon episode.
Oh
apparently.
my god, you guys are getting a treat. Right. We're at 55 minutes. We have so many articles to go through.
Well, first of all, this next article that you've listed, the link is not to the correct article.
Oh shit! It's not to the correct article. Oh well.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Two Jersey Kids, and we are completely in shambles.
We're a shit show, and we're just going to skip that article because it was one of those throw-in ones we had needed time to fill, which we don't give filler. We just talk about it. But PlayStation remains in the lead for TV ad spending despite skipping the Super Bowl. Jason Capita over at VentureBeat writes, I just thought this was kind of interesting. It's for the month of February, going from February 1st to the 28th. So PlayStation is on top with 20.9%, followed by Nintendo with 18.6%, followed by Top Games Inc., which they kind of explain what it is, but I don't know right off the top of my head. Then you have Machine Zone, and then you have Warnet Gaming, and then you have other rounding it out at the bottom. I just thought it was fascinating that even without the Super Bowl, as you can see, PlayStation is trying to, get fans, whether it's Call of Duty, they're having that logo, or Horizon, which I've been seeing nowadays. And also Nintendo's getting in on the advertisements with the Switch. I thought it was interesting that Xbox wasn't on this list for advertising, especially with the Super Bowl. That seems like the perfect spot for Xbox, because that's more people, I feel like more casual gamers know Xbox more than they know PlayStation or Nintendo, I guess. Casually for playing like Call of Duty, that's the system they played it on, the 360. But maybe it swung them over to PS4, and maybe that's why PS4 is showing more advertisements for those type of games.
I guess it kind of goes to show you that even with like PlayStation, I mean, obviously just spending money doesn't necessarily mean it's working. Doesn't mean your advertising is working, but the fact that they're still in the lead in spending, and they haven't really done the Super Bowl, haven't done the Super Bowl ad, just kind of shows you that you don't necessarily need to be on the Super Bowl to be successful in advertising. I guess if that makes sense to you, but because you can basically reach other people, your target market, so to speak, through other different channels, different programs, and stuff like that, instead of just going to the Super Bowl and reaching a ton of people at once. If that made sense, that
made sense.
Kinda, yeah.
Good job, Gary. I like your speak.
Woo!
Go. Yeah. I hate you. Has Nintendo Switch already been hacked? ? Richard Ledbetter over at Eurogamer writes, mere weeks after its release, hackers have already begun to peel back layers of the Nintendo Switch security, with a simple browser exploit now available. The exploit was revealed by iOS hackers Quarty Europe what the fuck that kind of name is, I don't know, who claims he did nothing more than a very simple repurpose of a hack originally used to jailbreak Apple iOS 9.3 devices. Later on, another hacker, Live Overflow, confirmed that the exploit works and the proof of concept was publicly released. It's all rather fascinating, bearing in mind that the Switch isn't supposed to ship with a fully functional browser at all. However, some kind of HTTP access is required to access Wi-Fi networks that require registration, and only then does the browser make itself known. Tools already exist to hijack this tool and divert it to other websites, and even rudimentary video playback is supported. The browser is based on widely used WebKit technology, but it turns out that Nintendo has used an older, easily exploitable code base that has since been patched. The end result is that the first line of protection against hackers has now fallen, and hackers should be able to probe the Switch's operating system for further exploits much more easily. Kind of reminds me of what happened with the Vita, or not Vita, with the PSP, so maybe we'll sell better with this hack. So, however, it is important to stress that while significant, the extent of the exploit is limited. WebKit hacks only allow for access to userland, unofficial code that can be executed, but without any tools to generate code, there is no real benefit right now. Low-level access is also non-existent, so this hack alone will not lead to custom firmware or piracy. Gary, you're the classic Nintendo hater. What do you have to feel about this article? They're putting in an old browser that's already getting hacked. I'm just waiting for you to talk shit about Nintendo right now.
I mean, from what I'm reading, it doesn't seem like it's that unbelievably of a significant hack, but I mean, I guess it just shows you that
here it is.
Anything. Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying. I guess these hackers are going to hack no matter what. No, seriously, like
hackers going to hack.
It doesn't matter what system it is. Like, I'm not going to talk shit on Nintendo Switch because they got hacked. I mean, the same thing happened to PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, let's be honest here. It happens to everybody here. So
fucking PSN outage for a whole fucking month.
I mean, the real.
God.
Well, that was so inexcusable.
Dark times
but
for
the real. I mean, the real thing that's the real. The important thing is that Nintendo Switch basically goes forward and can handle these issues as they arise. I mean, they're going to get hacked. They can prevent it. Obviously, that's great, but you're not always going to be able to prevent it. So they just, you got to be able to kind of mitigate the issue as it arises. So we'll see how it goes going forward.
We shall. I've been seeing articles now. No point in reading the article because it's straightforward with the title. PlayStation Now is now going to be able to stream PS4 games, and honestly, I mean, what's the point now with the Xbox Game Pass where you can download games? Why would you want to stream these amazingly beautiful games if you don't have the Wi-Fi capable to stream these games and play them properly? I don't really want to play, Uncharted 4 with a junky, kind of laggy or, input lag style gameplay, or any like first person shooters. No thanks. I mean, I guess it's finally a good step. I like the point that you write in our notes, which I'll let you explain or talk about.
Basically, I just think it's like kind of like a last minute desperate response to the Xbox Game Pass, because honestly, as long as this continues, like as long as PlayStation Now is just a streaming service and you're not able to download games, it's just going to take the backseat to the Xbox Game Pass, which honestly is like one of the best things that Microsoft's done in a while.
Yeah. I think we talked about it on episode 26 or 27, where we talked about how the ability to download these games and them physically being on your console is actually fantastic, because then that reduces the lag, and you can actually just play a legit game and not worry about your Wi-Fi connection and everything. You just have to worry about it when downloading it, which I think is awesome. I don't know if this is them not half-assing it, but just throwing it out there once the Xbox Game Pass came out, because I feel like these things take a little while in development. But, I mean, it's interesting timing that they kind of throw this out there now after, Xbox Game Pass sort of came out, and I think people are higher on what's going to be with Xbox Game Pass, just with the downloadable availability that's going to be there versus streaming, because who streams games?
Yep.
Moving on. Oh, Jesus. Play Collective. So every year, or every time new discounted games come out each week in this set period of time. So I'm just going to go through what games are going to be on the Play series. You can get them 20% off according to the PSN blog. You'll have first game launching next March 21st, so next Tuesday. You'll have Everything. Everything is about a quiet explosion of life going on all around us. This very unique game experience has been developed in secret for 3 years and is finally being launched on PS4 and PS4 Pro. Everything is a simulation of reality where everything you can see is a thing you can be. From animals to plants to galaxies and beyond, you can be the universe or create your own. Everything takes place in a world we live in now. It features 1 million plus years of gameplay, a rich musical score, and thousands of playable characters. Everything is created by Irish artist David O'Reilly and narrated by the late great British philosopher Alan Watts. March 28th, Rain World comes out. You are a slug cat. The world around you is full of danger and you must face it alone. Separated from your family in a devastating flood, you must hunt for food and shelter between terrifying torrential downpours that threaten to drown all life. Climb through ruins of ancient civilizations, evade the jaws of vicious predators, and discover lands teeming with strange creatures and buried mysteries. Find your family before death finds you. It kind of looks like a 2D Metroidvania style game. I'm not sure if that's exactly what's happening. It looks beautiful, not gonna lie. Moving on. Parappa the Rapper Remastered. That's kind of exciting. Coming out on April 4th. So it's going to be a remastered of Parappa Rappa. I think everybody knows. Then you have on April 11th, you have Cosmic Star Heroine, which I have been hearing a lot of people that are the insiders are really excited about this game. Take on the galaxy threat as a super spy, Elise LaSalle. In this classic style, fast-paced sci-fi RPG, explore Zevian system and its planets, defeat bizarre aliens and robotic monstrosities, and discover the dark truth behind an evil conspiracy that threatens life as we know it. Cosmic Star Heroine mixes classic 16-bit presentation with modern streamlined gameplay, featuring slick turn-based combat that focuses on flow and strategy. 11 playable characters, battles that take place on map, 3 distinct planets to explore, and an expandable base ship to traverse the solar system. Love the art style. It's going to be a JRPG style, which JRPG fans out there should check it out. Then you have Full Throttle Remastered. Released by LucasArts in 1995. If you're a fan of Full Throttle, it's going to be remastered. I don't have much to say about that. Then you have What Remains of Edith Finch, launching on April 25th. What Remains of Edith Finch is a collection of strange tales about a family in Washington State. As Edith, you'll explore the colossal Finch house, searching for stories as she explores her family history and tries to figure out why she's the last one in her family left alive. Each story you find lets you experience the life of a new family member on the day of their death, which stories ranging from distant past to the present day, created by Giant Sparrow, the team behind the first-person painting game, The Unfinished Swan. Wow, that sounds very sad, not gonna lie. But it looks beautiful, exploratory, kind of like going home, I guess you could say. So that's exciting. Gary, the final, I guess, this topic for this discussion is about everything going on with Mass Effect Andromeda. Do you want to take it away? Because I've been reading for a while of what you've been reading the article. So what, like, the complaints people actually been having about Andromeda. Apparently, according to one article we have, it says, quote, Mass Effect Andromeda sounds like a hot mess. So that's fucking fantastic.
Yeah. So basically, there's been some first impressions that, I guess, by people that have been playing this game early, they've been talking about it, and there's a lot of people that have been a little worried about the game being released. So I want to read a little bit of this article. I don't want to get, I'm not going to read the whole damn thing because it's ridiculous.
It's a long, lengthy article. And I didn't want to read that, but I was going to get tired if I read that.
So Eric Kane over at Forbes basically says, I've been pretty excited to dive back into the universe of Mass Effect, but early previews of Andromeda have me worried. At least according to some critics, the game sounds like it takes many of the worst aspects of the original trilogy and mashes them together into an overwhelming, overly large game filled with side quests and tedious dialogue. Of course, this is just the early preview stuff, and not everyone seems to be as bothered by the game's first hours. I don't have a review copy, but I will be buying the game and diving into... Yeah, well, he's going to be diving into the game very soon. So, Continuing onward, he goes... Rock, Paper, Shotgun's John Walker is probably the most vocal naysayer that I've encountered. He goes into great length about the hackneyed dialogue and describes the side quest as something from a 2004 Korean MMO, whatever that is. Just complete nothingness, running from map icon to map icon, scanning objects with your scanner when told to, and then AI companion Sam letting you know that, yep, the source of the defects has been found / animal has been captured / Tyler reunited with rabid tiger, despite you're actually doing nothing relevant to the tissue thin narrative. So there seems to be like a lot of concern about the side quests in this game. I guess like it seems to be like a lot of just like repetitive, like shallow stories, I guess, like not really much of a story at all, I guess, to these side quests. So that's just basically what I'm seeing from a lot of people.
And I mean, this goes back to, I was looking through this, and there was actually a PC Gamer article on February 22nd where I'm just pull some quotes from a quote. Open world games often spoil us with intricate and engaging main stories. However, the genre has a tendency to undo its good work by way of lacking side quests. BioWare's Dragon Age Inquisition is particularly guilty of this, which is something the developer is addressing in its incoming Mass Effect Andromeda, taking its lead from CD Projekt Red's The Witcher series, end quote. Quote, Condemners continue, stressing that bigger isn't always better in side quests. In that, side quests must be meaningful in order to be impactful, something The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is particularly carried off particularly well. Quote, and it was very important for us that the quality of scope doesn't downgrade the quality of whatever you are doing there, end quote. That was an article with them discussing with the developers, BioWare, about Mass Effect Andromeda. Which was one of the main issues with Dragon Age Inquisitions. A lot of the side quests were just, go there, fetch that. And it seems like what it sounds like from these preview impressions is that they didn't really take their cue from, good side quests. It seems like it's the same, go there, grab this, come back, scan this,
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like they rave on and on and on about The Witcher and their amazing side quests. And, like, while they were well done and, like you said before, or like we were talking about before, they had good dialogue, it was believable and everything. I never really thought the side quests were that unbelievable. Okay, call me crazy, but the more and more I've gone on, I said this last episode or maybe the one before that about Horizon, the more and more I go on and
cover your ears, Allison.
The older I get, no, seriously, the older I get, I've been playing like Horizon and other games, I realized how much I'm starting to just not really give a fuck about side quests anymore, because I'm so tired of seriously
that's
running.
Why you did like Witcher 3, because there's a Google amount.
Oh, that's part. Yeah, that was maybe I'm starting to realize that as well. It's kind of like a revelation all of a sudden. But I was playing Horizon, and you play through. I'm playing the side quest. I'm taking time off of the main story, and then all of a sudden I got to a point. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, seriously,
what is my life?
and maybe that shows you that maybe the Horizon side quests aren't that great. It's possible, but I don't know. Maybe I'm more about the main story, especially with Mass Effect, the previous games. I didn't really care too much for the side quests in that game, honestly. I mean, I liked playing the main story. I know, like, for example, in Mass Effect 2, I played the main story in that game, and I like doing the character side quests where you learn more about your characters, you gain their loyalty. But other than that, that's what I played the game for. I liked just playing the main story, getting the job done, and that was it. I didn't really care about helping some random alien on the side of the road. It wasn't that interesting to me. So if the side quests in this game aren't that great, but the main story is really good and it's long enough and has enough meat to it, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, so you guys can actually go to the Forbes article and check out what exactly they're writing, because there's so many. They're talking about the UI issues, how it seems like it's just poorly put together, I guess you could say. But I don't want to go too far into it. Another thing that was griped about or discussed, Mass Effect Andromeda, apparently you'll have microtransactions, which will let you drop about 80 pounds on multiplayer at once. Connor Sheridan writes over at the Games Radar. Apparently, multiplayer microtransactions will let you buy points to unlock new items, and the UK retailer Shop2 has revealed what kind of buy-in bulk discounts will be available. According to Shop2, the in-game currencies has the functional, if not imaginative, name of multiplayer Andromeda points, and you can buy anything from 500 points for $3.95, not $3, £3.95, I guess it's cents, to 12,000 points for £80 via the store. And they have a list This goes back to what we were talking about before with microtransactions. The fact that this is new items, I don't know if the items are just going to be cosmetic or they're going to actually affect your multiplayer experience. I don't even know what exactly multiplayer will be. I don't know if it's going to be like Mass Effect 3 where it's fighting off hordes or it's going to actually be PvP style. But if it's items that affect how you play but you're not fighting against other people, I guess that's fine.
Can I also ask who actually plays the Mass Effect multiplayer?
I played it for Mass Effect 3 because that affected the fucking story.
And that's the only time I've done it. I played it once to get the ending I wanted to see, and then that was the end of it. Ever since then, that's the one roadblock I've had to go back to that game because of that. But, we already went on about microtransactions. Basically, I'm for it if it's just customizable bullshit. But move on.
Move on to the final thing. Since we're done with all the topics, that's exciting. Gary, unfortunately, didn't write the timestamps, but, that's fucking
yeah.
I have to throw that in there, Gary. I gotta jab you one more time. That's what I do. That's why they love me. That's why you love me. Let's be real. You love me to death. We're gonna do our, normal. Sometimes we go to Golden Cartridge. You should actually check out Golden Cartridge, which talks about a lot of indie games or games being kickstarted. But we're doing found a game on Kickstarter ourselves. We did the work. And I thought it was actually interesting. Shout out to a certain Kickstarter called Shardbound. It is a tactical collectible card game that gives streamers and their viewers exciting new ways to interact and play together on Twitch. Currently, it's already passed its goal of $50,000. It's at $130,000. I think it's trying to get to Steam Early Access or, the green, I forget what it's called. But if it keeps going, they have 63 hours left, so go check it out. I definitely want to donate to this. If you get to 105K, it'll be exciting. You can get, it'll, be coming to the Mac, and you have enhanced camera controls. So if you want to know what exactly is Shardbound, it's actually a very beautiful looking game. Shardbound is a tactical CCG for the PC, so it's a collectible card game if you didn't know. That combines board-based tactical gameplay with the depth of content found in collectible card games. The core of the game is competitive 1v1 PvP, experience which we've wrapped in an innovative social metagame that not only allows players to have fun with their friends, but also provides streamers and viewers exciting new ways to interact and play together on Twitch. Whew. Got tired randomly for some reason. Something got caught in my throat. I'm sorry. But for right now, since you're on audio, just picture kind of, if you've ever seen the game Duelist, it's kind of like that, but it's more realistic, definitely 3D models, less pixel art style, kind of picture kind of Civilization looking with hexagonal board placements where you can go and take out certain people. I really like this. I liked Duelist per se. I'm kind of interested in this game. It looks beautiful. So, I mean, they have, the generic things with different classes, with different, all the cards that are decks that are going to be built from that class. They have a different, ways to build them together. So they build off each other. So you get a better, I don't know exactly how they explain it, but it's, build synergy with your deck. That's essentially what, is saying. Apparently, it's also built for streaming. They wanted to, have a social landscape with streaming. So the Shardfall system. So apparently, in the overworld view of Shardbound, you'll be a floating island falling out of the upper atmosphere. These Shardfall contain objectives for you to complete while you're playing your PvP matches. You will form a noble house with your friends and venture out to Shardfalls to earn loot and rewards. If you're watching somebody streaming Shardbound on Twitch, you will literally drop their Shardfall directly into your overworld. The streamer's Shardfall has special Twitch objectives and content generated specifically for their viewers to complete. In addition to seeing Shardfalls of people you might already be watching on Twitch, we also populate the overworld with Shardfalls of other streamers you may have seen before. This provides you new opportunities to discover new personalities on Twitch while delivering a steady stream of new objectives that keep you challenged. I'm actually excited for this game because it's not only just card-based specifically, but it's also tactical with how you place your monsters and everything. So I'm pretty pumped about this game. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not really much of a card guy, but I like the idea of integrating the game with Twitch. I think that's a cool thing. Yeah. Well, no, it's something that you haven't really seen. You don't really see much of. It's different. It's something new, and I think that's pretty cool that they're doing that. So it's a different element to their game.
Yeah. So like the addition to go off what you were saying with the Twitch integration. So there's one section where Shardfall system is incredibly versatile, and we're just beginning to explore the potential of viewer/streamer interactions we can support. Some of the type of objectives you might encounter on a streamer shard include play a match with one of the streamer's armies, allowing to use units or spells you may not have unlocked. Queue up for the chance at a show match with your favorite streamer. Submit a deck for the streamer to review and take into battle. Enter a tournament hosted by the streamer for their community, and help your favorite streamer conquer other streamers' shardfalls. That's actually kind of, like you're saying, it's a good integration of Twitch and, building the community of Twitch streamers and their fan bases, and allowing that community to interact with their streamer in different ways besides just the chat. I think it's kind of a ingenious way to incorporate, because you see, it gives people now a way to interact with their streamer, which, you don't see in Hearthstone, you don't see in Destiny, or you don't see in all those games, or League of Legends. You don't see a way for the community. This is actually taking advantage of the Twitch interface in itself, which is, I think, kind of ingenious. Yeah,
because I know, in a lot of other games, especially Destiny, there's only you'll enter, if you're a Twitch follower or follow somebody on Twitch, you'll enter some sort of raffle or something to get a chance to play with your favorite. You get a chance to play with your favorite streamer or whatever. So I think that having this interactivity built into the game, so you can interact with your favorite streamer, is pretty cool. It gives you that added aspect to it.
And it's not just, playing with them. It's just little things like having them review your deck, or, having tournaments for your streamer. And I just think it's kind of ingenious. But, that has been everything for Two Jersey Kids. It's been a longer episode, and I've gotten a little tired towards the end. I've been worn down because I have this light on me, shining on top of me, that's been draining my energy, I can tell you. I'm fucking sweating.
Is it the sun?
Yeah, it's fucking the sun. I'm not Superman here. I don't gain energy from the sun. Just kidding. I don't know what I'm fucking saying. Gary, do you have anything to say before we go? Maybe tell people where they can find us. See if you can actually do this.
All right. Well, if you're looking to interact with us on Twitter or any social media, find us at Two Jersey Kids. And tweet us. Tweet us with any suggestions you have for the show. Any questions? Maybe ask Adam why he's throwing this on me last minute, like he always does, and making this really awkward.
Keep you on your toes. You can also email us questions at twojerseykids@gmail.com. You can also find a Facebook page that we do. It's Two Jersey Kids Facebook page. Just search us. You'll find us. You'll see the logo. That's where logo like the page. I post what we do. If you post comments on, the episode that's being released, we'll answer you there. I would be happy to. And also, please subscribe and rate us. That's basically it. So this has been the Friday episode. Sorry, I got to be more uppity for the final bits. This has been Two Jersey Kids, so we released an episode every Tuesday and Friday talking about all video games going on in the world, with the two idiots here, me and Gary. So we are so happy for you all to be here. We seriously appreciate, I know we say this every single time, but we appreciate everybody that listens. And please keep sharing the podcast. Share it with your friends. See if they'll like it. Maybe they'll share it on to their friends, the Ponzi scheme. Here we go. You share it with 3 of your friends. They share it with 3 of their friends. We're now fucking huge! Except for we're not giving you a cut of anything we earn. Sorry. It's not how it works.
We take all the money. All your money.
Gary, do you have anything to actually say before we go?
Well, just keep on... thanks for listening to us. Keep on giving us a chance. Or if you haven't already, give it a... download us. Listen away. I don't care. But anyway, I'll see you guys next week. I'm out of gas.
All right. Oh, my goodness. All right, guys. See you on Tuesday. Keep playing those games. Have a good one. Bye.